On this episode of Doing the Most, I discovered that the Magically Delicious Meadowfoam Stout, after a few months aging, turned out not so bad. But for real, on this episode of Doing the Most, we're making all yolk pasta.
Homemade brews and various R2s, everything from meat to roast. Bake creation, fermentation, inebriation, doing the most.
The recipe for this pasta is fairly simple. The ingredients are 4 ounces of bread flour, 4 egg yolks, and a couple tablespoons of water. You'll also need some flour on the bench. We begin by putting our flour on the bench, and we're going to create a little bit of a well to work in. That's where your egg yolks are going to go. And then we're going to separate our egg yolks from our egg whites. And I'm just using my fingers to strain the egg whites away from the egg yolk. And then the egg yolk will go into that well we created. And I'm still marveling at the Meadowfoam Stout. You'll need to check out that video to see just how wacky of a process that turned out to be. But after a few months aging, totally drinkable. And then just use a fork to mix the flour into the yolks. It'll take about 2 minutes or so for that to combine, and then you're going to knead it for 5 minutes. Kneading helps develop the gluten in the flour, so that way it gets some stretch to the dough. A nice glutinous pasta makes for an excellent chew in your dish. And then that's going to rest underneath a glass bowl for a minimum of 30 minutes. And while that's resting, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the book that I adopted this recipe from. As I started my journey making my own pasta at home, I found this book by Eliza Green called Making Artisan Pasta. There's a ton of recipes and processes and science included in it, and if you're getting started on your own, I would suggest picking this one up. And then after a half an hour, we're going to get our pasta sheeter out. This is the America's Test Kitchen top-rated pasta sheeter. I will include a link to purchase that in the description here. We like to abide by their recommendations. It seems like there's no sense in reinventing the wheel on research if they've already done the work. And we'll just attach our pasta sheeter to the bench. Now, I mentioned in the Pasta Verde video that I've used a rolling pin to roll out pasta. Please believe me, a pasta sheeter is worth the investment. It gets a nice, consistent sheet of pasta, no thick or thin spots, and it just saves so much time. It's totally worth it. Throw a little bit of flour in your sheeter and just roll your dough thin enough that you can get it in there on that 0 setting. And we're gonna sheet this pasta out incrementally from 0 all the way up to a setting 5. Because this is an eggier pasta, I feel like a thicker setting on the sheeter, kind of like the thickness that lasagna noodles would be. That setting 5 really kind of gives it the density that you want in a noodle of this type. And then I chose to use a ravioli stamp to stamp these out, and any scraps were re-rolled, re-sheeted, and so this is all that's left. You know, we try to do the most and minimize waste. And look at all that beautiful pasta. Now you could cook these as they are. It would take 2 to 3 minutes in boiling salted water to cook them al dente, but we're gonna dry them. And to dry them, just put them on paper towels for about 24 hours and it'll wick all the moisture out of them, and you can just put them in a paper bag from there. I found these cool little paper bags on Amazon that I've been storing my pasta in, and it makes great gifts. So there you have it, homemade all yolk pasta. And I mentioned earlier our Pasta Verde video. You will want to check that one out. It gives you a whole other perspective on how to make homemade pasta that makes it real nutrient dense and a beautiful green color. So what's your favorite kind of pasta? You prefer egg noodles, maybe pasta verde, maybe some gnocchi? Let us know in the comments. And I'm still curious, what are your favorite pasta sauces? Please let us know. We're always looking for new pasta sauce recipes. Thank you for watching. You can find us on Instagram and Pinterest at Doing the Most OK, and of course our website is doingthemost.org. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. See you next time.